So I just got done watching a video by Theories Arcade about how the creator of God of War actually thinks that Kratos has gone soft recently, and he doesn't like the direction that God of War has taken. And so let me actually just read you the post to start. In the post, it goes, the creator of the original God of War series has voiced his opinion on the recent games released in 2018 and 2022, respectively. The individual, David Jeff, expressed his dissatisfaction with the direction of the spin-offs in a YouTube video on his channel. And before we continue, I have a problem with him saying spin-offs. In my head, when I think of a spin-off, I think of like the Cleveland Show compared to Family Guy, how the Cleveland Show is a spin-off of Family Guy for Cleveland specifically. The new God of Wars don't feel like a spin-off. I feel like he's putting disrespect on the new God of Wars because he doesn't like the direction they've taken. So calling it a spin-off, I think, is him trying to belittle the newer God of Wars in his own way. Let's continue. In a recent clip from one of his live streams, Jaffic complains that while he did enjoy the first game, he does not like the direction they've taken him to grow older as the fan base grows with him, criticizing the way Kratos has developed as a signal that the current team of developers have put their own personal thoughts and feelings about life into the character, and claiming that the core audience really doesn't want that. The feedback from the internet has been less than stellar when it comes to Jaff's comments, which shouldn't be much of a surprise since the last two games have been highly praised by a newer audience that has welcomed the character's growth and development. He does have supporters who wish that the series would go back to its raunchier days, back when it was filled with sexualized minigames and flavor of the moment bosses. And then it asks if we agree. But the main thing to take away from here is that it seems like Jaff thinks that the developers of the newer games are putting their own ideas of family or whatever their feelings are into a character instead of actually letting the character be themselves, which I'm going to go ahead and be honest, I think is just wrong. But also in this post, it says how Jaff thinks that the core audience doesn't really want developers to put their own thoughts and feelings into Kratos, and how Kratos is basically a signal and a way for developers to get their point across and their viewpoints across, which I think is just completely wrong. I don't think he's right about that at all, because Kratos still feels like Kratos, just a more tame version. And when I use tame, it's not a tame as in like he doesn't have his anger, his rage, his fight in him. It's just more controlled. That's what he's become. He's become a more controlled person, and honestly, more of what it means to be a man. And there are people who think that the series should go back to its raunchier days, like it says in this post, and I'm partially part of that audience, I think. Because here's the thing. I didn't get to play God of War 1, 2, or 3 when they came out, but I did get to play God of War, Ghost of Sparta, and Chains of Olympus because of my PSP. And I loved those games. They were so much fun. And as I got older, I finally was able to actually play the original God of War games, and I enjoyed them. When the series shifted in God of War 2018, I was 16 years old. I still wasn't grown completely, but I still enjoyed the story and the direction it took the game. I still enjoyed it, even at 16 years old. When God of War Ragnarok came out, I had actually already had my kid. Before I played Ragnarok, before I got to play it, I wanted to revisit 2018, which I did, and the story hit so much different once I got to play it when I had a kid. I enjoyed the games and felt nice that the story and the main character of God of War, Kratos, grew and changed and evolved and got better and is trying to be better, rather than staying the same crazy fighting, always angry person he was, the always vengeful. It would be nice to have the Kratos we have now revisit old fights, old bosses from the previous games, and see him now with his new weapons fighting in those, and that would be fun. But I think that his character should stay as is or continue to grow, not be the old character he was, the one that was always just didn't disregard for everybody, had no empathy, none of that. And I don't think it's soft to have those feelings, because it's normal. It's part of being human. Him not having any empathy separated him from it, and it was fun when playing it as a young guy. It was fun. because it's a video game. You just want to mess things up. It's not real. None of it's real. It is nice to see when a character develops and grows and changes, and it's not just the same thing over and over and over again. So, and here's the thing: is I think God of War, the newer iterations, have been able to demonstrate that well. Now, to continue here, we've also got God of War creator says Kratos has become too soft. I don't like the direction God of War is going in. Your core audience for God of War, I don't think gives a fuck about family in that way. And let's just pretend that's a direct quote. I don't know for sure if it is. They could have easily changed a word or two and it means a whole different thing. But let's just go based off this. Let's start from the beginning. I don't like the direction God of War is going in. That's okay. It's okay to not like the direction it's going in. Now, just because he's the original creator of the series doesn't mean that he has doesn't mean that he is the final say in the direction the game goes, because other people take over and they continue the story based off that. So if you want to believe and say that that God of War ended in God of War 3 and that's the end of it, that's fine. But I think when he is, and going back to him calling the new God of War spin-offs, I think he's trying to separate it from him, because obviously I don't think he developed it, and because then he wouldn't be saying that he doesn't like the direction it'd be taken in, because he wouldn't have put it in that direction if that's really how he feels. But him calling it a spin-off, in my opinion, is him trying to not just separate it from him, but trying to make it its own thing, and it has nothing to do with the original God of War trilogy, which I think is completely wrong. It all goes together. It just makes sense. The way the story develops, it makes sense for it to all go together. Now let's move on to the second part of his quote. Your core audience for God of War, I don't think gives a fuck about family in that way. If they didn't, then the core audience wouldn't have even been intrigued by these two new games. They wouldn't play it. They would complain about it, this and that. Now, there are people that maybe have a distaste for it because they still want the old school hack and slash fighting, and that's okay. You know, everyone's got their own taste and flavor of what they want a game to be like. But I think it's just wrong, because at the end of the day, I'll go ahead and speak on me personally, because I believe I was part of the core audience, even though I didn't get to play God of War 1, 2, and 3 when they came out, because for one, I was too young, but for two, I didn't have the access to it. I still believe I was part of the core audience because I enjoyed those games. I loved it. And once I was able to play all of them, I got to play all of them, and I finished them all the way through. Every one I could. I still haven't played God of War Ascension, though. I would like to. That being said, since I think I'm part of the core audience, I enjoyed the two newer games. For one, the fighting mechanics are amazing, and for two, the story is actually storying. If you know what I mean, it's making a story. The original 3 had some story to it, but that wasn't the main goal of it. The main goal of it was having a story so that you could fit and justify a character going around and killing everyone and everything in sight. You know? Now, if you want to check out Theory's Arcade take on this post, then I'll link it down below. But honestly, my take is this, that if you want the games to be like the old school, and that's and you just want fight, blood, and whatever Kratos used to stand for, all that vengeance and rage, I think it's okay to want that. I think it's okay to miss that and want to play games like that again. That's fine. But at the same time, the character development and the growth is so good to see. It's so refreshing, because if Kratos stays the same and stagnant, he stays in like a childlike mind. Because even though he was grown and he had godlike powers and he was a man, whatnot, it was just about power. And the issue with that is that it's something young men enjoy, and that's why the core audience was young. But growing and maturing is part of life too. And I think the growth and development of a character like Kratos shows people that it's possible to grow and mature, and it's just going to be part of life. I think it's a great direction that the story was taken in. Now, David Jeff could have easily meant that no one wants to play with Atreus in the background or as Atreus, which you're not wrong. I didn't want to play as Atreus, because I'm not going to lie, in God of War Ragnarok, when I played as Atreus and most of the time I was spent like walking with him, I was just like, man, I don't want to play as him. I'm here for Kratos. You know what I mean? So I think it was cool that we got to play as him, because when I first played as him, I was like, oh shit, we actually get to play as Atreus. But I will say his side story wasn't as important to me, because obviously, the God of War series is about Kratos, the God of War, not Atreus or Loki or whatever he wants to be called. No, it's not about him. So I can understand that viewpoint a little more. If the story's about Kratos trying to develop a relationship with his son and have a healthy one, yeah, that's fine, because we're still on our main character. But when you kind of split off into Atreus, it kind of loses its flavor, loses its touch. But some people enjoyed it. That's okay. It just wasn't my cup of tea, which I can understand that sentiment. Other than that, the series as a whole, the direction it's taken, it's nice. So I just thought I'd make this quick video because I just got done seeing this video like not long ago. Let me know what you think about this post and David Jaff's take down below. If you want to subscribe. If you want to join the channel, join. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.